I'd rather be the US than China. China's in even worse shape for distinct reasons. It's not particularly interest rate policy, although they're subject to global interest rate policy and exchange rates originating from the Fed. However, you can observe it in real estate. It's experiencing a comprehensive collapse. They're artificially supporting it, but the buyers aren't showing interest. In other words, the Chinese government instructs banks to lend money to real estate developers who are unable to complete housing projects. On the surface, it seems beneficial, providing funds to finalize housing projects. However, potential buyers are reluctant. They've been previously burnt and are refraining from investing in that asset class. They prefer increasing their cash reserves and exploring alternative asset classes. Their choices are limited because China imposes strict capital controls. They endeavor to move their money out through both legal and illegal means. They invest in gold whenever possible. However, even placing money in banks seems appealing compared to the ongoing turmoil in real estate. The problem is of immense magnitude. The bubble is excessively large and has persisted for an extended period. We're not hearing about it in the same way we did regarding the Japanese real estate bubble in the 1980s and early 1990s, an epic crash that Japan has yet to fully recover from. I recollect the 90s and early 2000 when they spoke of the lost decade. Well, Japan has experienced almost 3 lost decades and is heading into a 4th. Japan has faced, to my recollection, 8 or 9 recessions since 1989. Yet it's essentially one prolonged economic downturn. That's how one should perceive the Japanese economy. China is heading towards a similar situation. We don't receive much information because they lack transparency. They manipulate their statistics. To grasp what's truly happening, one needs to rely on private sources and employ alternative analytical methods. Nevertheless, they're witnessing declines in consumption, industrial output, a collapse in real estate, and their price indices are plummeting. The long-standing fear of inflation, previously prevalent and genuine, is now reversing rapidly, notably evident in China. China is facing an unprecedented situation. They are expected to lose 600 million people over the next 50s to 70s years. This is a demographic catastrophe surpassing the severity of the Black Death. During the 14th century, the Black Death wiped out between a third and half of Europe's population, creating a labor shortage that led to increased labor returns compared to returns on capital. Yet, even that doesn't come close. Even the Spanish flu of 1919, causing an uncertain number of deaths ranging from 100 million to potentially over 200 million people, and the highly destructive 30 Years' War in the early 17th century pale in comparison to China's current situation. It's all related to simple demographic calculations. The critical figure is 2.12 people. Each couple needs to produce 2.1 children to maintain a stable population. Why not just 2? The answer lies in infant mortality and those who do not survive into adulthood to contribute to the population. However, they're falling significantly short of this target. They're far below 2. By the way, this is not just limited to China but is a global trend evident in Australia, the US, Western Europe, and numerous other regions. However, the situation is particularly acute in China. It's possible that China's replacement rate or birth rate is actually 1. It's meant to be 2.1 to maintain stability, but it might be 1 or even lower. This unprecedented demographic decline is irreversible and feeds into itself, akin to the way I discussed inflation earlier. This trend is anticipated to persist for 50 to 75 years, resulting in a loss of 600 million people. There are multiple definitions of GDP, but one simplistic definition considers just 2 factors, population and productivity. This nominal GDP relies on how many individuals are employed and their productivity levels. Now, if your population drops from 1.4 billion to 800 million, a loss of 600 million people, coupled with an aging population, China faces a swift decline in productivity. Additionally, a considerable segment of the population will experience cognitive decline and dementia, resulting in decreased productivity. Moreover, within the working age population, more individuals will have to engage in elder care, being primarily caretakers for the elderly population. While a noble job, it does not contribute significantly to productivity. Bathing practices haven't evolved much over the centuries. Robots aren't best suited for this task.